It is week 6 in EDUT 501. Home stretch, right? We've got this. All right. Formative assessment. This is arguably the most useful and important thing you will do as a teacher. I love the integration with the Google Apps. And if we think ahead, I'm going to pause this idea about formative assessment. Looking ahead, week 8, keep in mind you're going to be doing Google Certified Educator Level 1. That's why we've been having a Google heavy course. These tools are useful for educators like so much, regardless of if you're a Google Workspace for Education school or not. The ability to meaningfully integrate these tools and have some level of expertise with them, incredibly important. My favorite story about that, friend that teaches in high school English in Huntington Beach, David Terrio, he keynoted Fall Q a handful of years ago. A friend was like, hey, did you know that you can have quizzes graded for you automatically? And he was like, this was kind of early in his ed tech journey. He's like, sweet. And he's like, yeah, you set up a Google form. And he's like, I need a Google account? That's weird. But okay. And so to this day, his Google account, including his email, is quizgrader@gmail.com. Because he was like, oh, sweet, like, it'd be great just to like auto grade some quizzes, which, as you know from this past week, has its place and is really useful, particularly when you have more than 100 students. I love that quiz grader. But this week, formative assessment. I think where technology is strongest in the classroom is actually with formative assessment. The ability for students at any age, including you, graduate school, like pre-kindergarten through grade 20, is that technology enables you to demonstrate your learning and make your thinking visible in ways that did not exist pre-smartphone, pre-device, modern laptop. So thinking back, as my kids refer to it, in the 1900s, when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, and they're right, it is the 1900s, I could write a paper, fill in like a multiple choice test, do a matching, it was pretty limited how I could demonstrate my learning, my mastery, and the idea of formative assessment, which I think is really about teachers getting at what are students thinking. Harvard has a great thing through their School of Education about visible thinking routines. I went through a program with them called Making Thinking Visible. And the whole idea is that you don't want to wait till that summative assessment at the end to be like, you don't get it. Okay, well, so that's their fault and that's our fault as a teacher, right? But if you're able to catch that along the way and understand or get some insight into what that student is thinking, then you are, as these middle school kids call it, chef's kiss. I'm not cool enough to pull that off. I will not do that again. And so, how do students show their thinking? I think first and second grade is really the sweet spot. My favorite app for that continues to be Seesaw. There's free versions for teachers. There's paid versions. Sweet spot's really right around second grade. It starts to feel a little bit young when you get to middle school, but if I was teaching middle school, I might just be all in on Seesaw because the ability for students to capture their thinking with a device is unparalleled. So what do you get in Seesaw? You can take a photo, submit it, which means you can draw something, you can find something, right? Like kindergartner, show me a rectangle. All right, that box around the outlets, there's a rectangle. Take a photo, submit. We just went on a shape hunt, but I can submit like 10 photos. So like, actually, some of those are triangles. Although those are harder to find in real life. But getting to like right when they get that misconception, to be able to interrupt that moment and give feedback in that moment, that's the sweet spot, I think, as a teacher, to get them right back on track. If we go with the analogy of like wandering through a forest, if you're like 3 steps off track, it's easy to get them back on. But if they've been off track, which is one of the arguments as to why homework is harmful, if they're on their own and just like veer off the path, you're like, get back here. You're so far off. Just here's the path. But if you're right there, either physically or digitally, and able to give that just-in-time feedback and get them right back off before that misunderstanding becomes how they think the thing is, then like you're in business, right? So that was just photo with audio. Just hit the audio button and explain your thinking. I did this because a rectangle has 4 sides and opposite sides are parallel. Sweet, like kindergartner's got that locked in. Angles are 90-degree angles, or look like this, or they're video and they just do like 4 of these. That is a rectangle. When I was in younger grades, it was like handwriting stuff to explain my thinking, and that was just so tedious. Like, explain to me how you know. You can interview a kid, you can have a speech, I suppose, but short of, if you're in a classroom with 35 kids, short of hearing 35 speeches, just getting them to explain their thinking in the moment is so, so good. And so that brings us to assignment number 6, which is just a solid mashup. It is Pear Deck plus Google Slides. And what you get with this, if we look at the rubric, there's 3 parts to it. Each bucket is 10 points. Google Slides, at least 5 slides, varying types of questions, an add-on in Pear Deck, and the Google Doc that explains assignment number 6 has links to all the stuff, just like they have been previously, making sure that you are using the not premium interactive questions. Don't pay for this, don't pay for the premium. Convince an admin or a tech director to pay for it if you love Pear Deck. It's an easy case to make. But you're paying for the non-premium interactive questions. Those connect with Google Slides. And then again, you're going to have the blog post. Please, 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 please. When you're submitting in Blackboard, give me a PDF with the submission and a link to the blog post. Don't have it be just billselleck.com. Have it be billselleck.com/ however you do it, 2022 / Pear Deck. Right? Like, give me the URL that goes right to that post, and submit both of those. So I have a link to the blog post in Blackboard, and I have a file attached in Blackboard as well. That's really important. This is arguably like the best example and best practice of formative assessment using Pear Deck. And even if you don't love Pear Deck, getting this idea and practicing the idea of like that just-in-time feedback is so good. Discussion boards, almost the same idea. You're going to be talking about a particular video, Dylan William, looking at formative assessment, connecting with TPAC. That's going to be pretty straightforward. Remember, initial post by Thursday, 2 replies by Sunday. And that's what we got for week 6. All of week 6, all of week 7, and then keep in mind week 8 ends on a Friday. And so we have like 2 3/4 weeks left, and then we are done in this course. Whew. So hang in there, reach out with questions. I really think you're going to dig this week. I think between the readings from Holly and Tanya, the video and discussion board, and then your assignment with Google Slides plus Pear Deck, like, yeah, you're gonna get your formative assessment going this week. It's good stuff. So happy week 6 and happy week 6. I feel like I should have said something else there. What can you do? It's week 6, right?